I'm Laurie Blake. Welcome to the WrestleTalk news. On Fridays, we wear pink. And our top story today involves two things: a condom and something dangling. You do the math. In fact, undo the maths, you filthy-minded freaks, because I'm obviously talking about the huge plans to push Dominic Mysterio, potentially, with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Ya pervs. Because as the UK-based event on July 1st draws nearer, talk has turned to who might be walking away with the coveted contract at the show. LA Knight was briefly touted by WRKD Wrestling as one of the leading candidates for this year's Mr. Money in the Bank, or to use the correct British pronunciation, Sir Doshington of National Westminster, you slag. However, given Knight's lackluster booking of late being used in the place of forever here, this theory has been called into question. So WRKD seemingly went and did some more digging and discovered that Judgment Day's Dominic Mysterio is being considered for a spot in this year's ladder match. While WRKD admittedly doesn't mention him being considered as a potential winner, it does make sure to mention WWE's love for Dom Dom, stating, "Many backstage are high on him and how he has grown as a performer over the last year." And Triple H specifically seems to be pretty keen on the lad, as Dom has been featured as a top heel on Raw ever since Hunter took over, and repeatedly given the opportunity to shine in segments and matches ever since. Now, who would you rather have win the Money in the Bank between Dom and Knight, or is there a better mystery third option out there? Let us know in the comments down below. Now, it's a busy weekend in the old world of wrestling, which I am not working. So I'm not working this one, but I had to work the one where Zelda came out. Is this a joke? Am I a joke to you? So as you may or may not be aware, it is WWE Night of Champions this Saturday, followed up by the double whammy of NXT Battleground and AEW Double or Nothing going head-to-head on Sunday night. Yes, head-to-head, like a war by the book. And this clash has been a hot topic of conversation during the pre-event press conferences, with Tony Khan being asked about it and saying it's nothing new to him. He said, "It's been that feeling from day one since we launched a TV show. I'm always very eager to compete in whatever arena I'm in. I really love the competition in pro wrestling, as long as it's done with some ethical standards." Subtle dig. People running events at some similar times, I don't know if that's necessarily unethical. Certainly, the spirit of competition is something we've dealt with ever since the launch of AEW, and I have never really had any problem with it as long as it's an ethical competition, and I don't think it has always been coming from the other side. Not so subtle dig. On the flip side, NXT's adoptive father, HBK Shawn Michaels, was saying he'd actually love to not compete against anyone, telling media, "There are far more important people than me that make decisions that they don't tell me about. I would love to have as many standalone weekends on us as we can get. The less competition we can get, the better. Also, now there's a thing as too much wrestling on one weekend." I'm not working, I don't care, I'm going to festival. So with this frankly insane weekend of wrestling lined up, there are plenty of moving parts because there are a lot of matches. At least 1 million on Double or Nothing alone, thanks Tony, which does vastly obviously increase the likelihood of something going wrong. And one such thing that has already gone wrong concerns AEW Women's Champion Jamie Hayter, because Hayter was revealed to be injured on the May 17th episode of Dynamite, though there has been doubts as to whether this was a shoot, a work shoot, or a mystery fourth option. Wrestling Observer Radio's Dave Meltzer would report saying that her arm injury was a work. However, Fightful Sean Ross Sapp claimed it was in fact legit. A war between the pundits. By the book. And now to clarify the situation, Tony Khan said at yesterday's media call that Hayter is in fact injured and not cleared to compete as of last week. However, Khan also noted that Hayter is in fact willing to compete in her advertised match against Toni Storm regardless. But Khan would not confirm whether this would be happening or not. Get a load of old shooty McWorkface over here. Playing the game, Tony. I like it. SRS also said in Fightful's AEW Dynamite recap show that due to Hayter's injury, the AEW women's division could look categorically different after Double or Nothing, so perhaps AEW has something up its sleeve if Hayter can't compete after all. Staying on the topic of late changes to this weekend's pay-per-views, hang on, we're talking about WWE now, so premium live events. I'm a pro. Anyway, yes, with the Night of Champions just 1 day away, it seems that there is still enough time for some extra additions to the card, and oh baby, I think you're going to be happy with this one. I know I am. Because according to Better Wrestling Experience on Twitter, there are considerations within WWE of potentially adding one LA Knight, spoken about before, to the Night of Champions card. Yeah. While his opponent for the event is not known yet, Rick Boogs was mentioned as a likely choice given their recent angle on SmackDown. Also, BWE did mention that Street Profits are in town for the event, so perhaps Knight and Boogs could team up against them. Although, the betrayal on Friday might make that a little bit difficult. Now, whoever ultimately wins the Money in the Bank is likely going to attempt to cash in on likely future World Heavyweight Champion Seth freaking Rollins, because as we all know by now, Roman is pretty much unbeatable. WWE basically told us as much. That's why the World Heavyweight Championship exists. Otherwise, what's it for? But it seems as if WWE could have avoided all of this consolation prize business if they had stuck to their original plans pre-WrestleMania 39, because according to Fightful Select, WWE were considering splitting the Universal Championship and the WWE Championship, and the man who was going to grab one of those from Roman was none other than Seth freaking Rollins. But of course, in all likelihood, Rollins would have had to probably beat the tribal chief, so it's no surprise that WWE didn't bother going down this route. However, it probably would have just made for a much more beneficial and straightforward solution to the whole title problem, instead of just magicking a title out of thin air. I don't know. Now, on a separate note, it was recently reported that WWE had some hesitancy regarding putting the new World Heavyweight Championship on Rollins due to his recent role in the new Captain America movie. However, there's been some clarification on this via Fightful Select once again, who noted that their WWE source vehemently denied these reports. Fightful was told that the idea that Rollins' movie role is anything but a positive is an unrealistic way of thinking. The source then notes that with Endeavor now on board, the role for Rollins is certainly viewed as a positive one, and it was not a surprise given Rollins' talent. It was also noted that WWE planned ahead for Rollins' absence from the past 2 weeks of Raw. However, he's now done filming and it's full speed ahead. With WWE perhaps going through a bit of a dry spell when it comes to new talent in 2023, courtesy of the unofficial hiring freeze, AEW have pretty much had their pick of the litter in the free agent market lately. Most notably, TK's company plucked Switchblade Jay White from under their noses, despite heavy links to a WWE move. And didn't that pay off? It didn't. It didn't pay off. And now it seems AEW have done it again, as it was announced yesterday that Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis of Aussie Open are now officially All Elite. Despite obviously being closely tied with NJPW, the team have actually, in fact, been free agents for a while now. And while them landing in AEW may not be a surprise given their prior appearances in the company, Fightful Select would reveal that things may have not been so clear-cut after all. Because according to their report, Aussie Open in fact had supporters in WWE, and the team did retain a rep for negotiations. However, they ultimately decided to go with the devil they kind of know in AEW. Interestingly, there may have been another factor in these negotiations, as it was revealed by Fightful that a gesture from AEW president Tony Khan could have potentially played its part too. Because recently, Mark Davis tore his meniscus, a nasty injury that would force the team to relinquish their IWGP and NJPW Strong tag titles that they held at last Sunday's NJPW Strong Resurgence show. It was also revealed that Davis had to undergo surgery for his injury, and who would foot the bill for said surgery? None other than Tony Khan. Oh, good on you, Tone. Now, it's important to note that this was before Aussie Open had signed with AEW, so perhaps this act of goodwill played a part in getting them on board, or perhaps it was a factor in the negotiations. Either way, it was a nice gesture. Now, unfortunately, due to Davis's injury, it looks like a planned Forbidden Door 2 match between Aussie Open and FTR is now dead in the water. The match that was teased by both AEW and NJPW on social media was obviously in doubt due to Davis's injury, and now Dave Meltzer has confirmed on Wrestling Observer Radio that the match won't be happening. Not on your Nelly, he said. And then he probably said 7 other things in the middle of that sentence, and then he said, it's not happening. And that looks like it won't be the only Forbidden Door plans that have been scuppered by injury, as the long-rumoured AEW debut of Mercedes Mone is also looking to be off following her broken ankle injury suffered at NJPW Strong Resurgence, a cursed show. The match against AEW's Willow Nightingale was, as confirmed by Fightful Select, meant to end with Mone getting the win and becoming the inaugural NJPW Strong Women's Champion. However, due to the injury, they called an audible, with several minutes being cut from the match and Nightingale eventually getting the W. An extra note on this from Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio is that not only was Mone planned to win the new belt, but the same belt was actually specifically designed for her, making the injury that much more of a bitter pill to swallow for NJPW. But yes, back to what this means for Forbidden Door, because in Tony Khan's media call yesterday, he would be asked about Mone and whether there were plans for her to appear in AEW in future, to which Tony responded, "No one knows, except Mercedes and myself." You chicken minx, Tony Khan, you sexy little chicken minx. While it would have been great to see Monet and Davies at Forbidden Door, it is more important that they rest and recuperate and come back stronger. And we at WrestleTalk would like to extend our well wishes to both in their respective recoveries. And lastly, a quick little note to end Friday, because Sami Zayn has been out exploring Saudi Arabia for the first time since WWE signed their premium live event deal with the Kingdom in 2018. And while out there, Zayn would undertake an Umrah, a pilgrimage to the Islamic holy city of Mecca, which is a life-changing experience that Zayn shared on Twitter, saying, "Being a pro wrestler and being with WWE has taken me to places I have never dreamed I'd get to see and do things I never thought I'd get to do. It's provided me a life filled with incredible experience that I will cherish forever. This one is at the top of the list." And frankly, it's truly wonderful and excellent to see Zayn finally able to travel out there after so many years of tension when it's clearly so significant to him. Have some major AEW plans been leaked? I mean, watch the video to find out more.
Memorable moments. 10 had one of the better opening matches in WrestleMania history, a big win at the end and an iconic match in the middle. 20 had, well, at the time it was feel good. 30 obviously had the story of Daniel Bryan, and now next year we've got WrestleMania.